Hi, I'm Amy Romeo and welcome to my Faux Falloween Crafting Event where I'm sharing a new Halloween or fall faux leather Cricut craft every day for 10 days. Today's project is going to be these really cute planner clips, and I've made 6 different designs for you, 3 that are fall themed and 3 that are Halloween themed, and these are going to be great to add some fun and interest to your paper planner. If you're not interested in making planner clips, I'll show you how you can easily turn these into earring designs. Now, I'll show you how to get the SVGs for this project in just a moment, but first let's go through the tools and materials we'll be using. So this project is very simple. We're going to use some faux leather, some heat transfer vinyl, we're going to use some paper clips. These are 2-inch long paper clips, and we're going to use some quick drying glue. Now the faux leather that I'm using, this is from one of my favorite faux leather suppliers. There's lots of pretty solid colors. These come in sheets. You can also buy faux leather in rolls on Amazon, and I'll leave links to all of my favorite supplies for you. For the heat transfer vinyl I'm using, this is a great scrap project, so I have lots of little scraps. This is Caesar Easy Weed. I also have some Caesar glitter heat transfer vinyl, but you can use any heat transfer vinyl you would like. I'm using my Cricut Maker, which has the regular fine point blade, and so do all of the other current Cricut machines. So you can cut faux leather for this project with any of the current Cricuts, including the Cricut Joy. To apply the heat transfer vinyl to the faux leather, I'll be using my Cricut Easy Press Mini. The small shape is great for pressing really small items like this, but you could also use a larger heat press if that's what you have. I have my heat pressing pad to protect my surface. I have a cover sheet to help me when I'm pressing. This is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to size. I have some blue painter's tape. This is going to help us get good cuts. I have a weeding tool, some small curved scissors, and then the paper clips that I'm using are 2-inch long paper clips, and this is a really fun metallic assortment that I got on Amazon. You could also buy paper clips in cute designs like this one. This is sort of a black and white in this assortment of different colored paper clips. And then you can also buy a whole box of just solid colors if you wanted to. Now the glue that I'm using something called Stick Fast. This is a super glue. This is the thick formula, and I recommend a fast drying glue, something like this or like a super glue, because when we're gluing the front and the back of the faux leather to the paper clip, you want something that's going to dry quickly, that you can sort of pinch close with your fingers to help you get that really nice tight seam. Normally when I'm gluing faux leather front to back, I use a fabric glue, and then I place my glued items under a heavy book, and that helps them dry. But this shape won't really dry well underneath a book because it's not perfectly flat. So if you can't find the Stick Fast Thick, use a fast drying glue, and then you'll be able to get a really nice seam on the edge of these. Okay, so let's hop over into Cricut Design Space. I'll show you the 6 designs. We'll pick 2 of them to make during this video, and I'll show you how fun and easy these are to make. To get the SVG for this and all of the daily event projects, visit the event page at amyromeo.com/Falloween24 or click the link in the description. You'll also see the option to upgrade to the event VIP pass and get instant access to all of the daily event projects, bonus files, and more. Starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the unzipped SVG files are for this project. Click on it to select it, and then click Open. And then you'll see the designs here. Click Continue. Click Upload. And here we have the 6 different planner clip designs. As I mentioned, 3 for fall and 3 for Halloween. What we're seeing here on the canvas is the front of the planner clip on the top, and then the bottom is the back layer. So these have a front and a back faux leather layer that we will glue the paper clip in between. And the front layer of faux leather will have heat transfer vinyl applied. So let me ungroup these so I can show you how these are put together. So these are really simple. For example, on this jack-o'-lantern, we just have the orange faux leather front and back, and then some black heat transfer vinyl on the top. The candy corn, we have some orange heat transfer vinyl and some yellow, which will layer onto this white layer. See how they're very simple and layered. Here on the witch hat, we have the little buckle and the band. Those are 2 layers of heat transfer vinyl that will go on that faux leather layer. For the little coffee cup, we have a maple leaf, and there's the coffee. The leaf, we have a vein layer. And then the little pumpkin, we have a pumpkin layer and we have the stem. So these are either 2 or 3 layer projects, super simple. So what I'm going to make today is I'm going to make the leaf design, and I'm also going to make the jack-o'-lantern. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete all of the other shapes off of my canvas. So we just have these. So as I mentioned, if you didn't want to make these into planner clips, you wanted to make them into earrings, you can make a little hole now in the little faux leather backings. And I have a YouTube video all about how to make holes in faux leather earrings in Design Space. I'll leave a link to that for you. Or you can use a hole punch and punch the little holes after you've cut your shapes. So I'm going to leave these the way they are. I'll click the Make It button. We're cutting our materials on a mat. And the first thing you want to do is go through and mirror every mat, because faux leather and heat transfer vinyl cut in reverse. Just go ahead and mirror each one. And then what I like to do is go through and drag my shapes just a little bit away from the edges of my mat and drag those shapes a little bit away from each other. This just gives us a little more room when we're cutting and weeding. So now I'm going to go back and click on my first faux leather mat, the orange pumpkins. I'll cut that mat first, click continue. For the faux leather mats, I'll use this faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure. If you don't have the faux leather paper thin setting bookmarked as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explorer Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to custom before you can find this setting when you search. Now for the vinyl mats, then you'll use whatever vinyl setting that corresponds to the vinyl you're using. So you might be using glitter vinyl or foil iron-on or regular iron-on. It's absolutely up to you. Okay, let's hop back over to my overhead camera. We'll get our paperclip shapes cut out, and then I'll show you how easy it is to put these together. So I've already trimmed a little piece of orange faux leather down to a size that's just slightly larger than my shapes that are going to cut. Trimming this smaller really does help get better faux leather cuts, because the smaller piece of material is less likely to move around while the machine is cutting. So I'm going to place this pretty side down on a purple strong grip cutting mat. Rub it really well with your fingers, or you could use a brayer and roll over it if you have one. And then I'm just going to use some blue painter's tape. This is going to help keep my material in place without leaving tape residue on my mat or on my material. So we have our faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure already set to go. So we'll just load this mat into the Cricut and begin the cut. So my shapes have cut one time, but before I unload the mat, I want to use my sharp weeding tool and just lift up the edge of the cuts and make sure that the cut went all the way through. Now this looks good because I'm able to lift up the edge, nothing sort of pulling it down, and I can see that the cut is complete. But if your cut is not complete, don't worry, that happens a lot. You can just press the cut button again to rerun and repeat the exact cut, and you can do that as many times as you need to, as long as you haven't unloaded your mat. But these look good, so let's go ahead and unload our mat, remove the shapes. And here we can see our 2 little jack-o'-lanterns. We have the front and the back. These are mirror images of each other, so they will fit together perfectly. Now sometimes when you cut faux leather with a Cricut, you might get some little tiny threads that stick out or little fuzzies on the edges. And if you do, you can use some small curved scissors just to trim those up on the edges. But these actually look pretty good. So now I'm going to return to Design Space. I'm going to cut out the leaf faux leather layer, and then I'm going to cut out the 2 heat transfer vinyl mats for this project. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've cut all of my faux leather layers and both of my little heat transfer vinyl layers. I've weeded away the excess, and we are ready to start to put these together. So let me just go ahead and assemble all of my materials. I'll heat up my Easy Press Mini, and we'll come back and we will press and glue these together. So my Easy Press Mini is preheated to the low setting. That's that first green line. If you're using a regular Easy Press, I would set it to about 265 degrees, and then you can always adjust the temperature from there. But this is really easy to do. We're just going to use our heat pressing pad as our base. We'll put our little faux leather pumpkin, one of them. Now these are perfect matches. As I mentioned, if your design is something that has a distinct left and a right, let's see, like this pumpkin, for example, you'll want to make sure that you're using the faux leather front or back that's actually the front before you start pressing your heat transfer vinyl on. So I'm just going to take my little heat transfer vinyl layer, place it here on top of my jack-o'-lantern, and then I'm going to cover with my little cover sheet. Now this is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to a smaller size, but you could also use butcher paper or parchment paper. And now I'm just going to press for about 10 seconds. Then we're going to just carefully peel back this clear cover sheet. If when you're peeling your vinyl lifts up or bubbles, you just place it right back down and press some more. But this looks pretty good. Now if you're using glitter heat transfer vinyl like I did for this, you might get some little specks of glitter. You can always flick those off with your fingernail or with a sharp weeding tool. Just wait for this to cool. Now I do want to keep this nice and flat, and it will start to curl because it's warm. So I'm just going to place that underneath my heat pressing pad for just a moment while I press this other layer. So then for the leaf, I'm just lining up the little veins on top of the leaf. Again, we'll cover and press. And there we go. There's the little leaf. Isn't that cute? So now it's time to glue. So I'm just going to place this one under here. Let that cool flat. Really doesn't take very long at all. Now what we need is our fast drying glue. So I'm using my Stick Fast Thick, and then the paper clip of your choice. Again, these are jumbo or 2-inch paper clips. I picked a cute black and white stripe, and then this is sort of a coppery brown one. This is coated with a really thin plastic so it won't rust. It's actually a metallic brown. It's not a rusted gold paper clip. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we've got our little paper clips. First thing we want to do is take the bottom shape of one of our paper clips, place it down. I'm going to put this underneath just in case any glue runs out. And then what we want to do is glue our paper clip. You want the little loop of the paper clip to be inside of the paper clip front and back here, but you don't want the little lines here of the paper clip. You don't want those parts to be inside the glued area, because then it's going to be hard for you to use your paper clip. So let me show you a little closer. You want the little loop to be inside the paper clip, but not the little lines. Okay, so this is a two-step process. First, I start by putting some glue on the bottom. You don't want too much. Just put a little bit. Line up your paper clip. Place it down. What you're trying to do now is make sure that your paper clip is nice and straight, lined up to your shape. And you also want to make sure that you don't have the little edges of your paper clip inside of the glued area. And then ideally you would want to let this dry for a little bit so you can handle it. But I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm going to go with my second pass here. Just add some more glue. Try to get close to those edges. Put a little glue on top of the paper clip and on the inside. And then all we need to do is take our top shape. You want to line it up. And this is the tricky part. You want to start to press and pinch with your fingers, because you would really want those little seams, those edges, to be nice and tight on the edges. So you'll just kind of go through, take your time, pinching all those edges to get it really nice and tight. Now, if you wanted to, on the edges, you could color the edges with a color coordinated Sharpie. If the edges were white or a color you didn't like, that's just a nice finishing touch. So I'll put this one to the side and we'll repeat with the leaf. And I did want to mention, I said earlier that you could punch a hole if you wanted to make these into earrings instead. And if you don't punch them in Design Space before you cut out your shape, you could use a 1/16 inch hole punch. This is just the perfect size earring hole punch. And you can just take your leaf and line up where the little hole would be and punch, and now you've got earrings. But we'll go ahead and make this one also a paper clip. Oops, looks like I glued the wrong colored paper clip on here, but that's okay. So let me go ahead and get a yellow one. So again, we've got the back of our leaf. I'm just going to apply some glue in a little U shape. Pop the paper clip on. I'm making sure it's nice and lined up. That way our leaf won't be crooked. Now I'll just get my front leaf shape. Again, apply some glue. Now on this little leaf, you'll want to be careful and try and get glue on all those little edges so they stick down nicely. There we go. And then again, you'll just want to take your time pinching while that glue is setting so that all of your edges are nice and tightly sealed. So here's another look at all of the fall and Halloween planner clips together. I really hope you like this project, and I can't wait to see the planner clips that you create. Remember, to get this and all of the SVG files for the Faux Falloween Crafting Event, visit amyromeo.com/Falloween24. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.